What kind of knowledge will be important in the economy of the future? Maybe a more on a meta level of how programs work, how machines work, right?
Yeah, I mean, World Economic Forum last year, let's say, create the list of the top 10 skills for the future of work, for example, and most of them were soft skill, obviously, because hard skill, as we already mentioned, could be acquired pretty fast.
Yeah.
And so I think, the soft skill part and all the new framework we are developing. A very good example is design thinking. Have you heard about design thinking 10 years ago or 5 years ago?
Maybe 5, not 10 years ago.
Maybe 5, some kind of prophets. It was not so massive anyway. Because it's something new, but it's something very, let's say, critical, not repetitive. And it's going with your flow. So it's a kind of state of mind. It's a creative thing. That's something that AI will take ages to arrive at the point. And it's very aligned with your passion as well, because creativity is, you should be in the right even state of mind, and in your, let's say, flow, it's so-called flow. So that's a very good example of what you have to learn. So you have to learn to be creative somehow and criticize the system in a very positive way, bringing solution to problem and something like that.
For those people that don't know, what is design thinking? What is the basic idea of it?
The basic idea behind design thinking is a framework where you can create new ideas. It could be obviously a project, a startup, or a company. And the framework will give you the opportunity to evaluate, not evaluate, but to apply a methodology to create and validate this idea. And design thinking is only a small part, obviously, of, for example, if you talk about startup frameworks, there's a lot of startup framework, but design thinking is one of the core processes to, let's say, create and validate the idea. And then there's other things that help you to create and validate the business model, create and validate the scaling system, and blah, blah, blah. And so that's a very good example. But again, go back to the idea of how AI can replace a design thinking workshop, for example. I think it's getting pretty hard at the moment. In 10 years, maybe, but we will find something else.
Yeah. So something like design thinking would be a skill or kind of knowledge.
Methodologies, yes.
A methodology, yeah. Do you think in the future everybody should know how to code? I mean, not 100% everybody, but most people, many people?
No, because if you think about coding in the last, let's say, 20 years, we are going to create as much as we can more human interfaces to coding. Coding languages is getting nearer to the human language. So I think in a couple of years we will have very great AI able to transform our way of thinking, our way of talking into the programming language.
Now, this is super exciting because there was, I don't remember what exactly it was, maybe you remember, that it made the rounds on Twitter and in the tech circles of the world, a kind of program that you could type in what you wanted to do, and the program knew how to translate this to get the results.
Yeah.
So for example, I want a homepage in that style, and it should have a contact page like this. I like those colors, and my name is this, and also I want the second paragraph of the Wikipedia article on Elon Musk on that page, and so on. Click, and the program does it.
Yeah, that's a very good example.
And this blew people's mind. Yes. They were like, okay, I know all these coding languages. I get paid 100K plus, and now we got this program. Am I now worthless? Yeah. Well, this is a great example of what is to come. And I, for the last few years, thought, and programmer friends of mine too, they also thought, well, programming will never, will always be useful and will always be in demand. But now that I saw this, I'm like, I don't know anymore. I don't know what to think anymore of this.
Yeah.
Will it just be a trend and it will go out of style? Or do you think this is the future? That even my mom or somebody that does not know anything about coding can actually program a homepage by just typing in the normal language that they have?
I think the interfaces are evolving into the right natural language, let's say, interfaces. I think the perfect example in terms of what we can imagine for the future is Alexa, where you can talk with Alexa, say, hey, I would like to order something, or I would like to listen to this kind of music. I understand that it is a very precise task, but it's the beginning again. In the future, we will have more interfaces like Alexa that can prepare your own page or do whatever you want, because the big, let's say, differences we observed between the beginning of the developing ages with assembler or this kind of languages to what we have today is that we are trying to, let's say, arrange our language to the computer language at the beginning, and then we switch it and we decide, okay, now it's time that you understand our languages. So we created interfaces that are more natural for us.
So do you think that then software engineers, they will shift from coding the program to coding the program that does the program, so to say?
Yeah, I think at the beginning there will be, as is already exist, people who are developing AI that can code. And tomorrow we will have AI that can code, and there will have people that will use the program AI work code. And then we will have trainer that will train AI to make the program AI generated very easy to understand for end users and so on. So probably we gone elevated ourselves.
Yeah.
And this kind of elevation will try to bring us as much as we can near to the end user.
So then what will never go out of business is generating ideas and executing it, right?
Yes.
Because this is what machines, at least for the foreseeable future, maybe cannot do, is create their own ideas. So, because for that, maybe they would need, like, let's call it 100% artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So that it really can think for itself from the ground up. Yes. And I heard from in the interviews and what I read and listen to on the internet that people in Silicon Valley say we will not have this kind of 100% autonomous machine intelligence in our lifetime.
Okay, the discussion about the difference between artificial generic intelligence, artificial superintelligence, AGI and ASI and so on, it's pretty live. I mean, there's a lot of people who are trying to identify the exact moment where we will switch from one to another. And the level of the AI today is anyway already impressive if applied to a small, let's say, content or a small, scenario. That's really impressive. Obviously, when we get broader, the same AI that can help you to have a remote surgery is not helping you to have your own web page, for example.
Yeah.
And it's only a matter of time, for sure, when an AI can start, let's say, generating original content. Because today, the original content generated by AI is generating using the history. So there's some genetic algorithm that are applied to music and to arts to generate new things based on the different tastes of the past generation. That's not very original. That's a kind of good remix with data. It's still impressive.
Yeah.
I don't want to discuss it. It's really impressive. But on the other day, we are using historical data to rearrange something new. And yes, the moment where AI can start generating new ideas, that will be another big step in the evolution of AI.
Thank you very much for tuning into the podcast. If you liked what you heard, then please subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcast player you prefer. Consider checking out the videos on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. You will find it easily. And if you're really a fan, if you really like it, then give me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It would help me a lot. in letting the podcast grow and making it bigger and get even more amazing guests in the future. Thank you very much.